Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hindsight. Joined here today by my brother Bryce. It's me, Prince, and we're going to be talking about Drake and Josh, but specifically season one. We may revisit this in later episodes and do the later seasons as we go on, but for right now, we're just going to be doing season one, which is only 6 episodes that aired between January to February of 2004. But the show lasted only about 3 years. It lasted from 2004 to 2007. I actually thought it was around for a lot longer for some reason.
Yeah, you saying that made me think. Yeah, no, it felt like it was around for way longer.
Yeah, but I think that might just be like
How
reruns.
much?
Like it just kept running over and over and over again. But yeah, or we were just young and 3 years felt like an eternity. So that's also possible as well.
Yeah, just or maybe it's just how much of an impact it left on us. Like it's just one of those shows that seems like everybody knows.
So we're just gonna go into the release order here. So it's just 6 episodes, so we don't have like too much to cover, but we're gonna just I guess start from the pilot episode. But before we talk about the pilot specifically, I guess I wanted to ask you, what is your overall like I guess perception of the show in terms of how you look back on it?
Well, before rewatching it, I remember it pretty fondly. I was like, oh yeah, I remember. I could like pick out specific moments and like bits and pieces that I really really liked. But outside of that, it was just like, oh well, it's just one of those shows I watched growing up. And then rewatching it, I was just like, maybe this is just me being cynical and me being like, you know, I guess overly negative because of the whole Dan Schneider stuff. But like, the show has like a lot of like jokes. I was like, I don't know if these should be in here, man.
Yeah,
Like,
there's some humor that definitely doesn't age the best. We're gonna dive into that, but I guess what I want to say is I look back on the show very fondly too. I still enjoyed watching these 6 episodes, even though I could definitely look at it from a perspective of like, oh wow, yeah,
you know,
there's some stuff in here that does not age well at all.
I definitely still did. Or sorry, I definitely still did enjoy it too. It was really, really fun watch. Just those moments.
Yeah, but I do think it did get better because I do remember it having it got better as it went on, and the chemistry between the two and all the characters they kind of just they found their groove as the show went on. So I'm a bit more forgiving of this first season because I know where it eventually goes. But it is interesting to look back on it and kind of because I just didn't remember I guess the early beginnings as much as the later episodes because the later ones were the ones that would rerun all the time. So you just kind of got used to the current dynamics of the family and how they acted around one another. But back here you're seeing like the infancy stages of those things and just how one little idea starts to become a huge thing later on in the actual show. So I guess we should just dive right on into the pilot here. So pilot starts out with Drake and he lives with his sister Megan and their single mother, and Josh lives with his single father, and they're both 15 years old and their parents are getting married and they end up moving in together. Or at least the dad appears to be moving in with Drake's mom. So thus, that's how we get the two as stepbrothers, which is very simple premise. This episode I remember pretty vividly. Mainly the beginning. The second half I don't remember any of that shit. Like the whole karate stuff and all. I don't remember any of that. But I do remember the initial setup to this series pretty well. But in this episode, I think it's pretty great just because it does all the things that a pilot needs to do. You get introduced to all the main characters. You kind of get an insight into their personalities and how they interact with each other. And then you also get a bit of an arc towards the end that kind of sells the main linchpin of the show, right? The whole like just brotherly love, that sort of thing. And I was actually shocked that the hug me brother, I didn't know that was from the first episode. I thought that was something that came much later, but it actually is a lot cooler to know that it started out as this like tool for Drake's like arc in the first episode of him being like, I don't really like hugging. I don't want to do that. And then, by the end, he actually is like, he gives in. He's
Yeah, it's
like,
like a
hug me,
staple.
brother. Yeah, exactly. And it sticks
Yeah.
around. So that's actually kind of cool that they did that. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the pilot?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say one thing that's really cool is how it opens with the side by side shot of like each of them in their own house, and it's something they do in pretty much every episode where it's like Drake will say one thing or Josh will say one thing, and then whichever one starts, the other one will say something like similar, but it's like clearly showing the differences between them. It'll be like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like in this one, it was like, oh yeah, my mom found this guy, and Josh saying, oh my dad found this girl, and they're like talking, and then you can see how completely different they are about it. Like, oh Josh, like yeah, he seems really cool. And Drake's, he seems like a loser. It's like, oh wow, that's great first impression that you have of this guy. Just yeah, he goes to my school, and he's just one of those. It's like, oh okay. And then
Yeah.
Josh
Yeah.
is just so kind-hearted, and he's so
He is. He is.
open.
Um, what do you think the canon reason for them like breaking the fourth wall is? Do you think at any point that they like thought about that, or because
No,
no,
100% no.
yeah, because it
Hundred
almost is
percent
like
no.
they're vlogging, but they're not like they never acknowledge an audience. They're just talking to the camera or like straight to the audience.
Yeah, and this is like a little. This is still related. I don't know what I'm talking about. But like a Disney show actually did the same topic like a little better. I don't know if you remember. It was the one show, Good Luck Charlie. They just did it
Yeah,
as the narrative device for it was, oh, they're filming something for her when she gets older, so that's their excuse to talk directly to the camera. So it's like it does feel a little weird just at the beginning of every episode. They're just going about their day, just looking at the camera. Yeah, so here's the plot, or here's the inciting incident. So
it was
okay.
crazy. I saw a video on Twitter the other day that made me feel like insanely old, but it was the baby from Good Luck Charlie as like a grown adult,
Oh
and
God,
I was like, oh, this is a wow.
that's
Um,
curse knowledge.
yeah, it is cursed knowledge. But besides existential crisis, back to the first episode here. So I think that visual styling that you mentioned from the beginning with the green and the blue, I've always found that to be very appealing. When I was younger, like I just thought it looked really cool. It kind of reminds you of like when you're in school and you have one of the school computers and you just leave it on, and then occasionally that
One of
little
those old
wallpaper with
wallpapers.
the pipes, the
Yeah,
colored pipes zigging and
yeah,
zagging. That shit
those
was
are
so
awesome.
cool. Yeah, the animations and stuff they do in here, I thought looked really stylized and cool, especially for the time. Because at the time, motion graphic stuff like that and intros didn't really look that good, or they never really had like a style that worked. But in this instance, I thought it really worked well. And I feel like a lot of this probably is what inspired iCarly, like later down the line, is the way
Oh,
they
100%.
talk to the camera and all this stuff. Um, but yeah, so in the pilot, basic plot premise here is they're moving in together. It's him, getting acquainted with his new brother, and them getting acquainted with the new parental situation they got going on here. And right off the get go, they make it very clear, that Drake is kind of a smartass. He's just kind of a dickhead. Like he immediately slams the door in Josh's face, like unprompted. And Josh, he's just trying to he's just trying to be cool with this dude. He's just trying to, be open and be like, hey man, I'm open to being brothers. Is cool. But I kind of can see Drake's perspective to some extent. Like he has this new person moving in to the house, this new stepdad, and he has to share his room. So I'm kind of sympathizing with those like
Plus,
aspects of
Josh
it.
does like belly flop onto this man's bed, and I'm like, that's
Yep,
a
unprompted.
wild first thing to do. Just wow, your bed looks cool. It's like okay.
Yeah, and then
So
he even like
Drake's
implies
not
like,
completely at
yeah, I'm
fault.
sleeping here, so I hope you're cool with
Yeah, it's
that.
so funny. He goes, "I'm sleeping here," and Drake goes, "I sleep there." He goes, "Well, where am I gonna sleep?" It's like, what? it's
Like, that's an
just
insane thing to say to someone in their homeroom. But how cool is Drake's room? Like,
it is really cool. It's a unique design.
yeah,
That weird, like kind
first
of
off,
like
it's
half
super
step in it.
spacious. Like, it's so
Yeah, very
big.
spacious. Like even before Josh moved in, he had a bed, a couch, that weird like kind of half step thing. So it's almost like he has two floors, kind of.
Yeah,
Like, dude has a sick room.
yeah, super. I'm like, where the hell did you find this house? Where is
But at the
this
same
place?
time, the logistics of the house make no sense. It's very clear it's a set. It's like that
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
yeah, 100%. So essentially, Drake is he's not really messing around with this new situation they got going on here, and the parents are very weird in these first few episodes. And I always like the parents are some of the weirdest TV like dad and mom parents like from any like sitcom show because they probably take the most like back seat out of any and like any of the ones that I could think of or the ones that I enjoyed watching. But normally with a TV family, the parents are just as a part of the whole thing as the kids are. But in this show, the parents are almost an afterthought in every episode. They're either played for laughs or some sort of gag, or they're just non-existent at all. And I always thought the way they were used in episodes was just weird. Like in the first episode, all they do is just make out and kiss in front of the children. Like that's literally it. It's like the kids are noticeably grossed out by seeing this, but they kind of like are they don't care. They're kind of into it. Like he's
Yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah. Go ahead.
like, yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's even weirder because, like you said, like they're just kissing, and like Drake will come in and he'll make like a quip, and they'll just look at him and just wait for him to leave and go back to kiss him. Like, you're not even gonna pretend to be like, oh, we probably shouldn't do this. The kids are, or oh, let's give them time to. No, they're just making out on the couch, and then
Yep. No
Drake comes in
TV
and goes,
on.
yeah, no TV, no background noise, just making out. Drake comes in, hey, this is gross. Hey, why don't you leave or something? It's like, dude, what?
I know, right? If you knew stepdad said that shit, you'd be like, excuse me, Lee? Um,
So why don't you leave, man?
yeah. And they're like both on the couch, and she's like, now it's my turn to kiss you, and he's like, no, it's my turn to kiss you. It's like, what is this? This is no, this is gross. Go in your room. Like, why are you doing
Like,
this? To me?
literally, you don't need to be in the living room doing this. You could be anywhere else.
Yeah, very bizarre. Like, I get what they were trying to do, and they were trying to show that, like this new situation, like just giving an added reason for Drake to be like, not okay with what's going on. But I think it was a little OD. They didn't have to go that hard on that aspect of it. But yeah, so later on we get to school, and I kind of like how, at least in the beginning, the high school is just high school. There's no like name, no like city, no area. It's just high school for like the first like 4 episodes practically. They don't have a name for the school. And I like how the set for the school is also just like one hallway. They never like show anything else. It's just the one hallway with the side of the lockers. It's almost like if you turn the camera around, there's just nothing. Like it's like
You
half a
just see
set.
like this the wood stilts and everything, just holding everything up the second they turn the camera.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
Um, so essentially I guess the main plot with Josh on his side of things is uh, Drake basically tells Josh he's like, I'm gonna go play basketball with some friends, and then Josh is like, how long are you gonna be gone? And he's like, I don't know, a couple hours. And
Yeah, he
he's
gives the
like,
most
good.
suspicious answer ever. He's like, "Oh, perfect. I mean, don't worry about it." It's like, what?
Yeah, I was
It's
thinking, I
like,
was like, he's totally gonna beat off in your room, Drake. I would be very very concerned right now.
no, I was gonna say, like, for someone who's like, this is gonna be their first time in your room ever, to be that excited to be, I was like, he's just gonna rob you, man. You're gonna come back and just everything's gone.
Uh,
Yeah, he's
but what
plotting.
actually happens is Drake comes back a little earlier than expected, and then Josh is he's all dressed up in a dress and a wig and the whole
With
shebang.
fake boobs.
Yeah, with fake boobs. And Drake is like very freaked out and grossed out by it. I think it was one point where he calls him a freakish man lady. I think that was said at one point in time. So that was crazy. This is one of the things that I definitely didn't remember being in the first episode, but like with all things that watched when you were younger, the bad parts you just kind of don't think about, so they just kind of get erased from memory. But this gag doesn't really age well at all. But basically, Josh, uh, he believes that the only way he can give good advice is if he puts on a dress, and he has this alias that he writes under in the school paper, where he like helps people out with their problems. And there's this one girl named Tiffany that he's supposed to be helping out. She's like just recently broken up with her boyfriend or something like that. And Drake being Drake, he gets a taste of that info, and he's like, oh, it's she got
Yeah,
a
I can use
boyfriend.
this.
Yeah, I can use
He
this.
said exploitation.
Yeah, Drake. It seems he's always been a predator. Even in
Yeah.
the show canon, he's been
Okay.
he's been chasing after these girls. I mean, and thing is, whenever he's so shallow because whenever anyone like he describes any of these girls, it's always like it's because she's hot or because she's pretty or she's nice to look at. Like, there's no like there's no substance to why he likes these girls. It's
Or
just like
like even later in like a later episode, I think it's like at the actually no, I think it's it's a later episode. In like the last little scene they do, Josh like runs off because like the whole snake is in like his shirt, and a girl passes, and he immediately starts checking her out and follows her around the corner. And I was like, okay,
it's so
that's how you guys want to
creepy,
end
bro.
this? I was like, dude, you
It's
just
so
oh my
creepy.
god, so blatant. And I guarantee you, Dan Schneider or somebody else is back there like, oh yeah, this guy the kid's dying, man. They're gonna be cracking up at this one.
It's kind of insane. But it goes to show what the perception of things like that, like how you get a girl's attention, how you like I was noticing that a lot while watching this is like, oh my goodness, that stuff is so dated. Because like we could chalk it up to Dan Schneider
Just
and
the
it being
time.
him, but a lot of it is just what it was at the time. Because none of us saw it as weird at the time. Like I remember vividly thinking Drake was like cool. I thought he was cool. I was like, oh, he plays the guitar, he gets all the girls. Like this guy's awesome.
I
But
mean, I thought he was
like,
cool just because the guitar thing, the girl thing. Like even back then, I was just like, the guitar's cool. But I mean, that was more just because I wasn't really like focused on girls. I was focused on
yeah,
playing like
yeah,
Nintendo and stuff. So
yeah. So and the show is definitely set up to, I guess, for the audience to perceive Drake as the cool one, the one that you want to be like, and Josh is the doofus guy that like, sure he's sweet, but no one wants to be like Josh. But in retrospect, when you watch it, it's like Josh is like the voice of reason. He's the great role model in the show, and Drake is telling you all the bad things that you shouldn't be doing. So looking at it with a more adult lens, you can see, I guess, how things are just not what they are now. Like, if you showed this to a kid today, I'm pretty sure young people would hate Drake. They think he's terrible. Like this character is awful. Like, why would anyone want to sympathize with this guy?
yeah, like even one of his first lessons that he tries to teach Josh is when Josh is like he's like hitting Josh with a pillow, and then Josh like throws a pillow back and like ends up breaking the TV. He tells him to lie. He lies, immediately gets in trouble for lying because it's like obvious he's lying. The TV's broken. Someone's gonna notice it. And then when Josh's like, I knew I shouldn't have lied, he goes, no, 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 no. You just lied badly. You need to lie more and do it better. I'm like, dude, what? He goes, no, see, you're just bad at it. Watch me. It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
that's kind of insane thing to the same way to frame it for kids watching.
It's just
Um,
you just lied badly.
yeah, but so back to the pilot episode. There's the Tiffany girl that he starts lusting over, and essentially he wants to keep Josh's secret because Josh doesn't want people to know that he's dressing up as a girl and using this alias or whatever. So he's like, all right, I'll keep your secret if you let me slide in with this Tiffany girl. So they try to I guess keep up this act for as long as they can. And Drake does this really, really dumb thing where he's talking to this girl, and this is how you know he's so shallow. It's like he's just straight up just lying to her. It's just like, yeah, I'll cook you dinner. I know how to do that, or I can do this, I can do that. And it's like, what's the goal here? Like, if you're just lying to this person and not like giving her any real insight as to like what type of person you are, who you are, and you clearly don't seem to care what type of person she is. You just only care what she looks like. It's like, damn, this dude is like super shallow. Like, does not care at all. It's just, oh, you're pretty. Well, I need you. I want you. Like that's Drake. Like, I don't
Especially when he
know.
has actual marketable skills. Like he could have just said, I play guitar and
Mm-hmm.
sing.
Yeah,
And
and
that would
that's
probably be
worked
enough
for
to
him in
get
the
a girl's
past.
attention.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, but no, instead it's just, I can cook. And the second the conversation over, hey Josh, you can cook, right?
yeah. So Josh ends up cooking the dinner for them, and they have a nice little dinner. But Josh, he can see through the BS. He's not trying to, let this go, because at the end of the day, he cares for the people that he writes for advice for. So he doesn't want to just lead this girl onto this negative, relationship with Drake. So he's trying to make that stuff fall apart. And this is where the show, like, I want to say the show, I think why I liked it so much when I was younger is because the show very much is written like a cartoon. Like there's nothing is grounded in any sort of reality. Like the moment something crazy happens, you'll ask yourself like, yeah, but when this happened, and it just doesn't happen, and you're just like, oh,
Yeah, just go no.
this world is just insane. So I think that's kind of why I liked it, because I didn't watch a lot of live action stuff around this time. I was strictly watching cartoons, but for some reason this show kind of grabbed me in a way that I kind of wasn't used to. It just kind of stuck out. So I think that's kind of why I liked it. But the her ex boyfriend shows up to their house and just like pushes in through the door, and then he's like, "What's going on here?" And he's like, "Oh, I knew you were unfaithful." And then he sees Josh instead of Drake and assumes that Josh is the one that was dating her or whatever. And the bully kind of grabs Josh, and Josh, like a cartoon character, is like, "Oh, I can't breathe," even though you would obviously be able to breathe.
Yeah,
He's
he's
grabbing you
grabbing
by
your
your
shirt
collar.
collar.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
not
like
actually
not your neck.
choking you. So it's
But don't
like stuff like
forget,
that. Don't forget what?
I was gonna say, don't forget, he drops that absolute banger of a line where he's like, "Meet me at the school at like this time and bring an ambulance
Oh yeah,
for
yeah. He said,
you."
"Make sure there's an ambulance
It's
nearby."
like, yeah,
Damn.
he spit bars, man.
Yeah,
He
he's a
take that
he's a
military.
classic bully for sure. And they do the cartoony thing where he leaves, and then the girl's like, "Oh, that was so romantic." It's like,
It's like,
bro, this shit is this makes no sense.
it was romantic watching me get folded. It's
Right,
good to
exactly.
know.
And I have a gripe with her, because I was like, what is going on? Because she knows that that wasn't who she was dating, so she at no point desires to clear this up, like with the guy. Of like, now, granted, they do have like a scene in the credits that shows her like acknowledging that.
Yeah, I dated Drake, not him. And he goes, "Guess I gotta knock him out too." But
Yeah.
instead, he kind of just like pushes him to the ground, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and then Drake
Yeah.
just lays
I
there.
kind of wish that was like a part of the plot. Like, I feel like that would make more sense. If it feels weird that Josh just accepts that this misunderstanding happened. Like, he just kind of accepts it. It's like, oh well, damn. I guess I got to fight this guy. Like, it's like, what? Whoa. Like, that's your first like decision here. I would be like hell no. Like, this is his problem. Why am I taking the fall for this?
I mean,
Um,
that's a running theme in a lot of episodes, though, that there's just things that could be cleared up with a single conversation, and they either don't happen or they're worded so poorly that the message isn't conveyed, so the other characters just go, "Yeah, that's crazy talk,"
yeah, that's
and it's
crazy
just
talk.
like, it's like, dude, come on. Like, I'll save it for when we get to the next episode or one of the
Yeah,
later
yeah.
episodes, but
So shortly after this, Drake basically says like, "Oh well, we got to teach you how to fight." So they go to this karate dojo, and there's this sensei here that is basically, they ask him, "Hey, can you like teach him how to do karate in 24 hours?" And Josh is like, or no, he's like, "Hell no, like that's not how karate works or whatever." But then they offer him $30, and he's like, "All right, bet." Which is also doesn't make any sense. He was just teaching a class. He's not going to take your $30 and cancel his class just to teach this guy, for the next however many hours. So things like that are things you just kind of have to be like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but
just punch
it
it
is what it
disbelief.
is. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel like the show feels like a cartoon. I don't think it's ever trying to be realistic, like, at all. It's completely goofy in every aspect of its nature. Then you get like a little montage where he's practicing the karate, and he's getting thrown around by this little girl. And by the end, he ends up, doing one move. So he's like, "Oh, I'm ready." And he confronts the bully towards the end at the school, and he gets dropped immediately. And he literally like folds like a Family Guy character. I thought that was funny. Like, just I don't know, the way his body contorted as he collapsed on the ground was just hilarious to me.
Just peak weakness.
Yeah. And Drake apologizes and convinces Josh that, he didn't need the dress to give good advice. And this lesson was weird because I didn't quite I wasn't sure what the lesson actually was. Like, it's like, yes, it is true that you don't need it to give good advice. That is true, but I'm not entirely sure. Like the dress thing in general, I think didn't make sense when you tried to tie it into the message, right? Like I can understand it being a bit in the beginning because at the time that was the thing people considered to be funny. Is like, oh, like cross dressing. He's wearing a dress. How funny is that, right? But at the end of the episode where they tried to tie it into like a message or some moral of the story, I was like, this part I don't really understand how these things correlate, but sure, I guess.
I mean, the main thing is it gets muddled because it seems like the message they're going for is be yourself, but Josh was always being himself. He just, kind of had it mixed up in a way of, oh, he felt like he needed the dress, but like he's still himself. He's still doing when, like, at the end of the day, the only thing changed is he's not wearing a dress. If anything, the message should have been something for like Drake. It should have been Drake learning that, hey, maybe don't exploit people's information and then also try and set your new stepbrother. Like
Yeah.
he should have learned something. He shouldn't have been the one teaching.
I,
Like,
yeah, I agree 100%. I thought that was weird that like he shows up in the room and he's like, no, I hid the dress. Like, you're gonna learn this lesson. It's like, whoa. I was like, I thought this was for you. I didn't think it was gonna be like a Josh thing. Especially considering how Drake was treating him in the beginning of the episode. You just kind of assumed that like it would have been like a learning moment for him, but I don't know. They took it in that direction, I guess. But here we get the payoff with the hug me, brother, and they finally, do the hug for the first time. And I think that's the only time they do it in season 1, at least. So
no,
I
I
guess
think
they
they,
didn't.
I think they do it again at least one more time. I don't remember.
Oh well, if it comes to memory, we'll bring it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get that payoff there, and I would say in these earlier episodes, I don't think the acting is very good, but in the moments where the show like really needs to show like heart, I think they do a good job. Like in this moment where he's apologizing and he's like, saying like, you're not my best friend. Ugh, you're my brother. And I was like, okay, that's good. I like that. I like that. But then most of the time it's, hey, I don't know if I should be doing like it's that kind of acting. I don't really like
Yeah.
that kind of acting, but you know
No, I
what?
will.
It's charming, I
One thing,
guess.
one thing I love about those lines was like, "You're not my brother," or "You're not my, my best friend. You're my brother." Is like, I always think to myself, I'm really glad the other person decided to give you the time to finish that statement because, like, imagine like in any other context where you're like, "You're not my best friend," and then they just leave and you never get a chance to finish it, and you're like, "Wait, no, what? No, I don't want to hear it. We're not friends, right?" It's like, no, it was gonna be a heartwarming
You let
thing.
me finish, man. It's all part of the bit. Come on,
It's like
lock in.
you gotta understand the scene's perfect from the outside perspective when I do the pause.
Exactly.
It gives them time to put in uh the awe soundtrack, They just
Yeah.
gotta hit that button. That's one
So,
thing I did not miss.
oh, the laugh tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks.
They kind of fade into the background, I noticed. In the beginning, it was kind of jarring, but as I just kept watching, I didn't even like notice it most of the time. I was just like, I guess it's there. Um, yeah, I don't know. Laugh tracks don't work. I've never like seen like because they're just a cue to be like, this is the part you should be laughing, but I don't think anyone actually like
Laughs.
does
It's
that.
like it's literally just the corporate sign of this is the emotion you should be feeling. You hear them all going ooh dramatically. That's because that scene was supposed to be a big reveal. It's like
Yeah.
stop, please.
Yeah, it's always weird because I guess they're trying to, present the vibe that this was recorded in front of like a live studio audience, even though it wasn't. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's not so much to show that this is the funny part. Maybe it's like just to capture that feeling. But I never really watched a lot of shows that were done that way in front of a live studio audience. So I don't really know the appeal of that. Like maybe someone that really likes shows like that, maybe that adds something for them. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Yeah. So this brings us to the second episode, which is called Dune Buggy. This is one I remember pretty vividly. This one aired a lot. I definitely remember this one. Basically, one of their friends, this guy named Trevor, he brings in a broken down, like old dune buggy that I guess he just had lying around. and he tells Drake and Josh like, hey, I got this buggy, you guys can ride it around or whatever. But to their surprise, it's all banged up and non-functional. And this is the episode where you mentioned the drink thing. So basically, they have this like fat box TV in the living room, and Drake, I think it's Josh. Josh has the drink on top of the TV, and then Drake throws a pillow that hits the drink, and the drink spills on the back of the TV. Now, this kind of brought back some like memories because those fat box TVs, leaving drinks on them was a bad habit. Like it actually just was. Like I remember vividly, like instinctively, like putting drinks on top of those fat box TVs.
It's perfectly counter shaped.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And it's like, damn.
It's at like almost chest height or like shoulder height. So it's like instinctive to just set it there, do something, pick it up. It's
Yeah. Luckily, I've never spilled one on the top of the TV, but I was thinking about it, I was like, huh, that actually was pretty stupid to do that. Like putting drinks on top of the TV.
especially with ice in it. Oh god, that's
now.
horrible.
Yeah, 100%. So essentially, the whole premise of this episode, so they have this buggy, but it doesn't work. So because of Drake spilling the juice on the TV, frying the TV, Josh gets blamed for it. Or rather,
No. It was Josh spilt it, and then he just didn't know how to bring it up. Yeah, because Drake was hitting. Yeah, Drake was hitting Josh with a pillow, and then when Josh tried to retaliate, he knocked the drink over.
Oh, okay. So that's how. Okay,
Yeah.
that's how it went. Okay, so Josh spilled it on accident by throwing the pillow, and this is when Drake is like, "Hey, man, you just lie."
Just lie.
Yeah,
He
that's
goes,
how I
tell
do
the
it all the
truth.
time.
He said, "Tell the truth. Apologize. Take accountability. Just lie, man. Like, what are they
Yeah.
gonna do?"
I feel like the way they wrote Josh specifically in this episode was kind of a little too dumb. I was like, you can't expect me to believe that this guy has lived 15 years of his life and has not learned that lying is wrong. Because, like, Drake tells him, he's like, yeah, you just lie. And he's like, but doesn't that seem wrong? It's like, yeah, it is. Like, I'm shocked you don't know that by now. I mean, as good natured as you are, you think this would have, came up at some point, in his life. But, it is what it is. Like I said, it's like a cartoon. The characters are going to act stupid sometimes. But yeah, so Drake basically tells him like, "Hey, if you just lie, you'll be fine." And the mom comes in and she's wanting to watch TV, and he's like, "Oh, no, don't touch the TV, don't touch the TV." And this is where you see that Josh is very, very bad at lying. It's actually quite obvious that he did it, and the mom finds out, and she ends up grounding him. I like that she gets his hopes up because he's like, "Oh, so I'm not in trouble for the TV?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "You're in trouble for lying." And I was like, okay, I like that.
Which is a blatant lie, because we both know, or everybody knows, if he did tell the truth, he'd still be in trouble for that. So I hate when people do that. You're not in trouble for sneaking out and doing all this stuff.
Yeah, I really liked it because it kind of reinforced the lesson, like in a I guess a more smart way. Like it just kind of doubles down on like, don't lie. That's the bad thing. Focus on that.
Yeah. That is good.
Yeah, but I was thinking like, yeah, if this shit happened in my household, we'd be done. We would be done. There's no like, oh, it's okay, but don't lie to me. Like lying, sure, that would play a factor in it, but the fact that the TV is broken, that's gonna be the real problem. That's gonna be the issue.
So you telling me I got to spend another $700 on a TV?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is the privileged household of the Drake and Josh family, so they got money like that.
They have fresh
really
fruit
nice
on the counter.
house. Yeah.
They have fresh fruit. They have money.
right. So Josh gets grounded, and while he's grounded, he just decides, okay, well, I'm just gonna work on the buggy then. I got all this free time, why not? So they end up restoring the buggy, and it's like in damn near perfect condition. I don't know how they did this. Like they practically built a new one.
Paint. Yeah, fresh paint. It was like literally night and day.
Yep, new tires, new headlights, new. I'm like, damn, y'all just like that? How? Because I think he was only grounded for like 2 weeks or something like that, and they.
Yeah, and he was still grounded when he finished. So it was like he did all that in like a week, if that.
Yeah, it's kind of insane that they did all that, and it's kind of crazy because like they did all that only for the parents to be like, oh no, you can't ride this, and then they're like, why? Well, why did you let us get it? And he's like, oh, honestly, we didn't think you'd be able to fix it. It's like, dang, what the hell?
No faith in me. We thought it was just sitting here, honestly. So
That's kind of messed up. But Drake's like, I'm driving this shit. We'll just wait till they're not home and then we'll drive it. And Josh is like, no, we can't do that. That's wrong. I like this exchange because Drake's like, he's like, it's okay. He's like, you're not gonna get caught because you're gonna be with me. And Josh is like, you're gonna get caught because you're gonna be with me. I was like, okay.
he's like, good point.
that was a good point. I was like, oh, that's smart. That's smart. So Josh is very adamant about not going, and so he doesn't go. And Drake starts like, playing in the buggy, and then Trevor shows up. Yep. The boy Trevor shows up, and he's like, oh, he's like, you guys really work fast. Like, you guys actually redid this whole thing. And Drake's like, he's like, yeah. He's like, you wanna take it for a ride, before the parents get home? And he's like, yeah, sure. Bro hops into his lap. I was like, what the?
And he goes, hey, you want to send the passengers? He goes, but it's comfortable. It's like, bro, what?
It's like, yo, this Trevor guy is sus, bro. And I guess they're just dog shit drivers because immediately, as soon as they drive out the driveway, they crash into like a bush or a tree or something. And I was like, okay, but how did you didn't get very far, so there's no way this thing went like 0 to 50 miles per hour in like seconds. There's just no way. So they crashed, and apparently it tumbled over, and he ended up like
from the vehicle.
Yeah. He flung out of the vehicle and sprained. The doctor, first off, I don't know what this doctor is saying, because he's saying like, oh, you sprained your leg or whatever, sprained something, but
And, like,
meanwhile
hurt
his
some of the
bones are
ribs.
cracking. Like his when he moves his arm, there's several shattered like cracking noises that you're hearing. It's like, I don't know, I don't know if this diagnosis was accurate.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of doctor has you in the medical bed and you're clearly injured. And he goes, yeah, why don't you stand up and walk for me? And then goes, yes, your ribs are. It's like, you couldn't tell me that while I was laying down?
Right.
I could have told you that. It's like,
okay, so at the hospital, basically the doctor's like telling him like, yeah, you spraying this, you spraying that. And Trevor is, he's like, we're gonna get away with this, okay? I can, trust me, I can tank it. And so he decides to just leave the hospital as is, which there's no hospital that's just gonna let you just leave like that without calling a family member or nothing. And I was like, yeah, this is BS. But like I said, it's a cartoon. He leaves the hospital and he's like, oh, I'll just put on some makeup. People won't notice that I'm super injured. And so he's like limping everywhere, and clearly can't do anything. And so Josh kind of takes notice of this, and he gets like a phone call from the hospital, and they tell him like, hey, Drake left his wallet. Yeah, he left his wallet. So he's like, at the hospital, how the hell he left it? And then he ends up putting 2 and 2 together, and he finds out that he was in that accident. And he kind of takes it upon himself to like kind of fuck with Drake with this knowledge. So he's like, telling his dad to practice wrestling moves on him and all this stuff. And Josh or Drake, he's kind of pissed about that. He's like, you lied, and I thought you were gonna be a good brother, and this and that. I guess I'm just gonna stay grounded and fix the buggy all by myself. So Drake kind of feels bad about this, and I was wondering where this was gonna go, but Drake, I guess he kind of feels bad, but at the same time, I was like, I wasn't sure how bad he felt, because when he walked out there and he admitted to his mom like what really happened, he was kind of playing up the theatrics of this moment. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if he truly felt sorry. I think he was trying to game this, because he's like, I got into an accident. And
yeah, at first he said a car accident.
Yeah,
and then she goes, why? He goes, well, it's a buggy accident. And then even then, when like his mom and his dad turn on Josh and go, wait, so if you knew, why'd you have your dad wrestle him? And then Drake goes, go easy on him. He's a good kid. Shut up.
I was like, oh my god. Yeah, if I was Josh, I'd be so pissed, bro. He's like, oh, well, wait a second. I was like, yeah, this is hilarious. So I was like, I was worried that they're just gonna let him get away with it, and then they played off. I was like, no, he is grounded. But then at the end of the episode, it's like, nah, grounded is actually goaded for him. So
He said no
he did
school.
get
You
away
do
with it.
whatever
Even
you're
when he
doing.
didn't, he did.
Yeah, he cooked, man. He gamed the system. He won.
Yeah, it's crazy how he has a walkie-talkie. He calls the dad, and he's like, give me some magazines, some more pizza, and I don't know, some of this, and then dad's like, he's like, don't worry, Josh will be on it. It's like, what? Like, what is this, bro?
It should
Yeah,
have
this
been
is a
bare
punishment,
necessities.
right?
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
they're getting him, man, luxury items.
Yeah, so
This
that's
man
how the
said he's
episode
gonna give me some
ends.
ice cream in an hour. I was like, dude, what?
Yeah,
How
he
do you
has an ice
request it
cream.
an hour in advance?
Yeah, he's got this shit on the itinerary, bro. So that's how the episode ends. Once again, Drake doesn't really learn anything. He just kind of gets away with it, and this becomes a pretty prevalent thing throughout the show, at least in season one. Later on, there are definitely episodes where Drake definitely has to take some heavy hitting lessons. But so this brings us to episode 3. We have "Believe Me, Brother." This is probably my favorite episode of the ones in season one, just because it feels more balanced than the other ones. And in general, the plot is slightly more interesting. I think the other ones were a little basic and a little simple, but this one's a bit more interesting. So in this episode, it starts with them talking to the camera like they do. And Drake's basically talking about this new girl that he's dating named Susan. He says she's cool, she's funny, and she's awesome. And then, Josh, he's like, I haven't met this girl, but this is all he talks about. I'm kind of excited to meet her. So Drake is in the situation where he needs someone to help shoot his music video for his band, and Josh kind of offers to do it because he has some experience shooting a recital or something. And so he's like, I could do it. And so Drake's like, I guess I'll let you do it. But his girlfriend's gonna be there, so he's got to introduce the two. So next time they're at school, he introduces him to Megan, or not Megan, sorry, to Susan. And this is where we get a very jarring, I guess, introduction to this character, because when she's set up as the girlfriend, you're like, you have an expectation. It's like, okay, so this might be a recurring character. Maybe Susan sticks around. I don't know. But quickly after Drake leaves, Susan starts being very touchy feely with Josh, and you're like, oh, this is kind of weird. It's kind of
I mean, she
strange.
does something in particular that I think is not only like I get what they're going for, but it's weird. Like Megan pulls a prank on them earlier and hits them with paint, and she's like, "Oh, you got some paint on your neck," and wipes it off and then licks her finger. I'm like, that's not food coloring, that's paint. I don't know if you can ingest that.
Yeah,
It's
Susan's a weird one. This is also the first episode in the series that Megan is uttered in the way that we know. Like, Megan is the
it
first
makes the
time.
face.
Yeah, yeah. And this is also the first episode that Megan has a pretty big presence in, too. I forgot to mention her in the previous ones, but she shows up for a little bit and does they kind of tease her mischievous nature. But this is the first one where Megan kind of has a pretty integral tie to the actual main plot, and which is also a big reason why I like this episode a lot. But so yeah, Josh kind of has this weird interaction with Susan and doesn't quite know how to feel about that. But in the beginning, he's just kind of, pushing it off. He's like, maybe she's just really nice. I don't know. So they go to shoot this music video, and she starts doing even more weird stuff where she's caressing his back and just touching him on the shoulder and all this stuff. And I'm thinking all the time, I was like, is no one seeing this? None of these people in this band are noticing this. It's behavior that's going on. He's clearly distracted from filming. He can't film the damn thing because she's all over him. But everyone's oblivious, I guess. I don't know. But so yeah, after this happens, Josh then tells the parents, and he's like, yeah, this Susan lady, she's really nice, too nice. And the parents are kind of weird in this scene because they don't. I don't know if they're just dumb or they because it's pretty obvious what he's trying to say. He even brings up the documentary thing with the giraffes. And he's like, when a male giraffe really likes a female giraffe or whatever.
And they go, "Oh,
Like,
we get it," but then
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
like, I think they straight up even go when he's like, "I think she likes me," and they go, "Ah, funny." It's like, dude, what? It's like, have faith in your child, but also like at least pretend to hear him out. Like, why would he just randomly lie and say, "Yeah, I think Drake's girlfriend likes me,"
Yeah. And I
and then he
think,
leaves and they cut on the channel again a little too eagerly.
yeah, they really want to watch those giraffes have sex, even though when they
Yeah,
turn it on, I
you hear
believe the sound
horses,
effect was horses. So I was like, what the
and
fuck are
then it
you watching?
hard cuts from that scene.
Yeah. But I think this scene could have been so much better if like we played more on the dynamics, of the characters. Because I remember they do this later, like in a later season. But you know, Josh's dad should have been more empathetic to him and like he really wanting to hear him out and being like, okay, tell me more about this. And then I would think it would be cooler if Drake's mom was the one that scoffs at him and laughs it off and is like, huh, no, she didn't. And then the dad was like, well, hold on, like, I don't know. And what's wrong? Like, what do you mean? What you think he can't attract a pretty lady like that? I think that would have been a cool thing to play around with instead of them both just kind of scoffing at him and laughing it off. But hey, I'm not the writer. If I was, I would have went that direction. But essentially, once that happens, Josh then, I guess doubles down on like, okay, well, maybe she is just being too nice. Maybe I'm freaking out. Maybe I don't know what the hell's going on here, right? And then suddenly we get this encounter where Drake isn't home, but Susan shows up, and Josh is like, what are you doing here? And she like corners him up against the fireplace and basically just sexually assaults him. Like she just like forcibly kisses him. And of course, Drake and his bandmates walk in and they catch it right in the moment. And I was kind of shocked at how this played out because I was expecting Drake to lash out, but he kind of just takes it and is like, okay, what the fuck? And then he just kind of leaves. And yeah, this Susan chick, she is impeccable with her timing, I will say. Like every time her timing is on point because like Drake comes in there and she's like, Josh, what are you doing? It's
Drake's
like,
my boyfriend.
yeah,
I
that's
would
my
never do
boyfriend.
this.
Yeah, it's like, okay, bro. All right, all right. Um, Josh doesn't do himself any favors by turning around and saying, "Praise the Lord, thank you for my first kid." It's like, come on, Josh. This is not the time to do this. Like, you're not doing a good job pleading your case here. But I digress. So, shockingly, I think Drake actually handled the situation in a somewhat mature way. But what he should have done is really take Josh's like warning into account because before this, Josh told him he was like, "Hey, like this girl, I think she likes me," and he just kind of laughed off. He was like, "No, she doesn't like you. Come on, don't be crazy." I think having this happen, he should definitely seriously look back on that interaction and be like, okay, maybe he wasn't lying. I think that's where it should have went, but instead he just kind of ignores him. That's like his method of dealing with it. So I thought it was kind of interesting because he could have lashed out and just yelled at him and got really pissed, but he was just like, nah, I don't like you're a betrayer. I don't fuck with that. And then he kind of leaves. So
Yeah.
that's a way to handle it. That I was like, you know what, that's actually more commendable than just being pissed like at him. So they were still inhabiting the same room and sleeping
Oh
in
no,
the
he
same
was still
room.
definitely pissed though.
Oh yeah, he
Like,
was, but he was handling it in a way that wasn't abrasive. Like they were cohabiting still, and it wasn't getting in the way of that. At least, like in that aspect, I thought was somewhat mature. But yeah, he definitely should have heard him out a bit more. So Drake basically does what he does best, and he gaslights Josh, and Josh is like, he's like, listen, bro, like I can prove it to you. If you just let her come in here and you can hide in the closet and you can see how she is around me, and I'll prove it right here, right now. And then Drake is like, he's like, oh, all right, fine. Like I'll hear you out. You get 30 seconds, right? And then here's where Josh just sells. He actually just throws. I like this goes into him being just bad at lying. He's not good at it, and this shows that beautifully. So Susan comes into the room and uh, she's like, "Where's Drake?" And he's like, "I don't know. He's not in here." And she clearly
He's
sees
not
his
home.
bag, like sitting on the table or whatever. And this is where Josh went wrong. He should have just played it cool and just been normal and just let whatever happen. But he starts actually just being a creep. Like he actually starts doing some weird shit where he's like, "Oh, look at me, look at you, my knee is right next to you," and then he
Oh, come to
starts,
Joshy.
"You
So,
come to Josh." It's like, yo, this is crazy. And she's like, this is weirding me out." And then Drake comes, he's like, "That's it, get out of here. I don't ever want to
I
see you
knew it.
again." Yeah. And at that point, I was like, "Damn, Drake, I kind of understand because that shit was creepy as fuck." I would have been like, "Yeah, I got to cut this shit right now."
I
Like,
don't want to see where this is going, man.
yeah. That was not a good look at all. And throughout the episode, you get little hints that Megan's been recording like everything. So you get her recording Drake in the mirror, doing like air guitar and being all goofy, and then you get her recording Josh playing in like a bubble bath or whatever. So she's been recording things throughout the episode, and that comes back later when they finish the edit for the music video to present to the class, and when they show it, it's a different edit because Megan has tampered with some things and she's kind of finagled it, and now it is it shows those embarrassing moments, but also shows what really happened, and it kind of outs Susan for what she really is. And
The entire class cooks her.
yeah, the entire class, yeah, she's gonna have to definitely change classes after this shit. But so yeah, Drake obviously gets pissed, and she hits him with the "It's not what it looks like," and then Drake hits her with that, "And so are you." And I was like, "Damn, that shit's hard, Drake. That's hard." So I really like that setup because Megan was kind of in the background doing her thing that she does, and it came, through towards the end, and it set everything up really nicely. And at the end, they kind of confront her about it, and they're on somewhat good terms with how that happened. So I thought that was really sweet and nice. And Susan, we don't fuck with Susan. F her. We don't care about her. So I think it set up a really dislikable antagonist character. It brought the two brothers together in a way that I thought was nice and I liked. And I think the lesson was actually pretty good. I think it came across really well, and I like the way Megan was used. Only thing I really didn't like is the way the parents were used, but that's more of a nitpick. So I think this is definitely the best episode of season 1. I don't know how you feel, if we've made it to the episode that you think is the best, but that's definitely where my thoughts lie.
Actually, I think that I like the last episode of this season most.
Okay.
If not the last one, it might be the one just before the last.
Okay. Cool. Well, we're close to getting to that, so let's move on to Two Idiots and a Baby. So in this episode, there's not really much to say. This is a very straightforward one. Basically, Josh's dad, he has this dinner that he needs to attend with his boss, and he needs to really impress. He's really needs to impress the guy for the job. So Josh kind of volunteers, like, "Oh, we will babysit," because I guess like the boss, he couldn't make the dinner because he doesn't have a babysitter or whatever. So Josh kind of volunteers that they'll both babysit, and this is kind of weird to me because I was like, I kind of felt for Drake because Drake had this already planned arrangement that he was going to
And he
do.
just volunteers. He just will do it.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, it doesn't take two people to do this. I was like, it doesn't, like that was kind of unnecessary. You didn't have to bring him into this. Like I get it, like two heads are greater than one, that kind of mindset. But it's like, dang, yeah, dude, like you knew I had this thing planned, and you're actively screwing me over. Like I get it, it's for the dad, but like that was, I don't know, I couldn't really sympathize with that. I thought Josh was in the wrong on that one. But so the parents, they decide, okay, cool, we'll let you babysit, and they leave. And at this point, Megan starts pulling some pranks, some shenanigans, because the baby is asleep, and Drake's like, "Oh, well, I can just leave right now. The baby's asleep. You don't need my help." And Megan glues like the cell phone shut, and then calls it so it keeps ringing. That wakes up the baby. Baby can't, baby just keeps going and can't sleep. So they try a bunch of different things to try and put the baby to sleep, and eventually they play the guitar. and make like a lullaby song or whatever, and that puts the baby to sleep. So now Drake's trying to leave, and he's like, "All right, I'm out of here." He's trying to go with his band or whatever, and as they leave, I think it's at this point that there's like a weird continuity issue that I thought was weird because it's like the continuity issue revolves around the lesson, like loosely. So basically, there's this female member in the band, and there's a scene in the post credits where Drake's like, "You're a woman, you can change the baby, right?" And then she's like, "F this," and then she leaves.
No, no,
And
no, it's
then
even better than that. Because she goes, "Oh yeah, give me a second," and then she leaves. You hear a car outside.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But
Love
that's in
that.
the credits, right? But in
So
the
it's like, why wasn't that
episode,
there?
she's still there, and they all leave together. At least that's what it seemed like. And then later at the place where the band had to play, she's there, and then Drake's talking to her, and then he's like, "Well, you left us," and then she's like, "Yeah, like how you left Josh." And then when I was seeing it, I was like, "Wait, what do you mean you left us? What the hell is he talking about? Did I miss something?" And then, but it's like it's in the credits for some reason, and I don't understand why, because that scene could have easily just been in the episode. I don't know how or why. But anyway, after that whole ordeal happens, Drake and them leave. Josh can't find the baby. The baby's missing. Where the hell's the baby? I don't know. And he thinks it got launched in his like makeshift like catapult thing that he made.
Mhm.
And so he's like spending the whole episode looking for the baby, which is he was looking in pretty dumb places. I can't lie. I'm like, there's no way this baby got chucked out the window through this catapult. For one, how did the baby even get upstairs? Like that's the first question. How did it get up there? Like I would have looked everywhere else before even making that assumption. So I thought that was kind of weird that he jumped to that conclusion. I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess."
Well, I was gonna say one of the places he checked that was like especially dumb was I think he checked like a newspaper like holding basket thing. I don't know. It's one of those things that like you only see in TV shows because like no one buys that.
Yeah.
But like you would think with Megan being like the prankster of the house, he would at least consider checking with her or any like even if you don't check with her, check every room of the house before you check. Oh, the baby flew out the window from my catapult. Like that's
Yeah, there
I
were
don't
there
know.
were a lot of weird like leaps in like conclusion. Like it was very strange because so Drake decides to leave his gig to go help Josh. That was like the main thing like they were trying to push here. Granted, it didn't really work that well. But anyway, he leaves his gig to go help Josh, and he immediately knows like, okay, Megan probably has the kid. So he talks to Megan, and Megan's like, oh, I don't know, how would I know where the kid is? And then he basically like, appeals to her nature and is like, yeah, you would know. And she kind of lets a smile, and then it's next time we see them, they just have the kid, and the kid's like
The
asleep.
house is cleaned.
Yeah, yeah, and I was like, I feel like there's a chunk of episode just missing, like that had to do with him and Megan. Like, I don't know. It just felt like it felt like it was a complete chunk of this whole thing that was just gone. And I was like, okay, this episode definitely feels like the most uh, disjointed one out of the six. I don't know what happened with this one, but it feels all over the place.
Yeah, no, hard agree with that. It's a weird choice they made with it. It's like what they decided to just not show.
Yeah.
But like even though they didn't show it, they also acknowledge it. Like Josh even says, "Where'd you find the baby? And how's the house clean?" And it's like, and then they just don't acknowledge it. So okay,
Yeah. So that's how the episode pretty much ends. This is like one of the more forgettable ones. I don't really like this episode that much. I think this is kind of whatever. The lesson is a little weak. I think the plot's kind of weak, and just in general, not there's not much to like in this one. It wasn't that funny. Like, yeah, it's fine, I guess. So this brings us to First Crush. This episode is actually the first time we get a name for the high school. It's Bellevue High, and they got a whole new like look to it. And in this episode, it's pretty much centered around Josh and him not being, very good with the ladies. Like that's the whole thing here. So there's this girl at the school named Kathy that he's been crushing on. So It's kind of weird because he says he's been crushing on her. The beginning of the episode, they have like a bit of an exchange, and then later she meets him, and it's almost like it's the first time they met because she's like, "You're Josh, aren't you?" And it's like, wait, I feel like we should have been past that stage. Like if she's like at the point where she's like, "Oh yeah, you're Josh, huh? Yeah, that's your name, right?" It's like, oh, I thought this was like a girl that he like talks to like every morning in small talk, or at least has some kind of encounter with her. Like I don't know, for him to be crushing on her the way he is, like you would have thought that, but no. I mean, apparently he's only known her for like a day or two or something, so that was kind of weird. But yeah, so Drake basically, he's deciding to help her, or no, help Josh, get girls, because as he said in his own words, he's like, having a brother that's not good with the ladies makes me look bad or something like that. So he's got to help him. So in this episode, randomly Megan has a pet snake named Robert specifically, and so that kind of shows up. Where did she get the snake? Who knows? Honestly, who knows? Like, do we need to know? I don't. Hey, maybe it's better left unknown. Who knows? Who knows where an 8-year-old gets a snake? But she has to return the snake back because the parents are obviously not going to let their child own a snake, and she like hides it in one of their backpacks, which is kind of insane to think about. It's like this is some sinister shit. Like this is kind of crazy because I mean you don't know if the snake is defanged or not or what, but yeah, she's glad. It's just like, yeah, you're just gonna take this to school. So Josh goes to talk to Kathy after getting like the advice from Drake, but he ends up blowing it because he acts he took the advice the wrong way. He acts too much like Drake and says dumb stuff like, "Oh, well, I played the guitar." It's like, why would you say that?
Yeah,
Why would you say that?
and then not only say it, but then double down on it enough to where as like he doesn't correct it until like she's trying to leave, and he goes, "Oh, but wait, actually, wouldn't you prefer this other thing?" And then she leaves. He's like, "I can't play guitar. How am I gonna do this?"
Yeah, so dumb. So like she invites him basically to go to her birthday party and to play her a song because he plays the guitar. So she's like, "Yeah, why don't you play me a song?" So he accepts, and meanwhile Drake is also trying to audition his band at this coffee shop because if they do well, they get to play there every Friday. So he's like, "Oh, this would be great. It would be a good gig for us." So he goes to audition, and as he's playing, things are going well, but the damn snake is in his backpack, and it's crawling up his or crawling, it's slithering up his back, and then he freaks out, and he literally throws the snake on like the first person in the audience. I thought that was insane. Like that was actually like manic as hell to do that, but the owner freaks out and he's like, "Get the hell out of here, your band." And I was like, well, hold on, you don't even know if that was his fault. Like for all we know, this snake just could have freakishly made its way in here, and he was in the right and freaking out because like that was clearly not a part of the plan. I think that was obvious. So that was kind of insane that he was like, yeah,
more than enough.
And this guy's the same. He's the karate teacher from the first episode. So I guess not only does he run this dojo, but he also runs a coffee shop. So that's.
I think he's the girl's dad's friend. I remember
something like that.
Like, yeah, she knew him. So very important character, this guy.
Yeah. Recurring. Will he show up in season 2? Probably not, but who knows?
Yeah, I think he will.
Oh really? I don't remember this guy, so I don't know. I'm banking on no, but we'll see. So yeah, he flips out and he says your entire band is banned for life. None of you can come to my coffee shop, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, like this guy, you have prior experience. This guy, he helped you. He paid for the karate and stuff. You'd think he'd be willing to give them a second chance at least. I mean, like it was a freak accident. I mean, like no one brings the snake on purpose. Like whatever. I'm not gonna harp on that too much, but because this happens, now Drake is in need of, some assistance to win the shop over because he really wants to play there. So he decides, well, since you lied and said this dumbass shit about you being able to play the guitar, how about I play the guitar for you and we just kind of make it seem like you're playing the guitar. And Josh somehow didn't learn from 2 episodes ago about lying. I guess he just didn't learn, so he just chooses to go through with it. He's like, yeah, because I think all he needed to be convinced was Drake says, "Do you want to be a liar or do you want a girlfriend?" And then he's like, "Sign me up for a girlfriend." I was like, "Nah, bro, this is kind of contradictory. Like we're going backwards." But I digress. So they go through with his plan, and Drake is playing the song or whatever, and everybody loves it. But obviously, this wouldn't work. I don't know how they thought it was gonna work, but she, pulls the curtain, and then you see Drake is behind him playing the guitar. Whoa, shocker! Drake ends up fixing everything by the next day. He puts one of the paintings that Josh drew in Kathy's locker, and somehow that kind of fixes everything. Even though she was like, "I'm not gonna date a liar," which is valid, right? No one wants to date a liar, someone who's unfaithful, someone who, is disloyal or untrustworthy. And but then she opens her locker and she sees this nice painting, and she's like, oh, "Josh, you didn't tell me you could paint. Why didn't you say so?" And now she's just chill, I guess.
And now it's just, yeah, we can date. Even though Josh says something like could be interpreted as pretty creepy, where he's like, "Well, if you want to see more, I've got like dozens in my notebook. It's like dozens of pictures of me." And Drake even comments earlier in the episode that don't show me all that. That's creepy. So it's like, I don't know. I'm glad it worked out for Josh, but like
Yeah.
the way that the episode set it up and then flipped at the end with the choice.
There was no salvaging this. I'm afraid. Even though it ended on good terms, I'm pretty sure that this shit was never gonna go anywhere. So you get the happy ending just because Drake kind of tidy things up, but then you get the predatorial scene where I think Josh, he has like a thing where he opens up his locker and it fucking hits him in the face like a shotgun, like a double barrel shotgun. Um, yeah, and so Drake kind of sees this girl walk past, and he's like, "Oh shit, let me chase this one down and see where this leads." So him and his predatorial instinct kicked in, and we cut the credits from that. So that's a way to end the episode for sure. Yeah, this episode was also kind of whatever. I do remember it vividly just because of the snake. I do remember that pretty vividly. So this brings us to the final episode of the season, which is Grammy. This one is pretty sweet. This is probably my second favorite. I would say, yeah.
Yeah, this one's my favorite.
Yeah. So in this episode, Megan and the parents, they're going out for the weekend, and in the meantime, they're gonna have their Grammy, coming to watch them. And Drake is not a fan of her. She is Josh's grandmother, and he sees her as a bit more uptight, stuck up, that kind of thing, and thinks she always gives him a hard time. So he's not really happy about this whole situation. Plus, there's also this concert that he really wants to go to, and he knows she's not going to go for that. So that's an issue. So she shows up, and she's actually kind of cool. I don't think she's as hard on him as he thinks she is. I think he's just a hard ass, so he kind of needs it. I'm not gonna lie, but she's cool. She's kind of fun old lady vibe. I would think she'd make for one of the cool grandmothers. She's definitely not stuck up, I would say. But essentially, Drake is like very bummed out about the whole thing, and she makes him an offer. She's like, "Hey, if you can beat me in this game of basketball, I'll let you go hang out with your friends, but you can't go to the concert. That's your stipulation. But you can still go out with your friends." So, he takes her up on the offer, and he ends up beating her 5-0. And I was like, "Oh, dang. All right, Drake, I see you 5-0 against the old lady. All right." And she's like, "All right, cool. You can go hang out with your friends or whatever." And to my surprise, I thought Drake was going to just go straight for the concert because the friends come back and they're like, "Hey, we got tickets for the concert, so let's go." And to my surprise, he's like, I promised I wouldn't go. Sorry, guys." But then he gets peer pressured into doing it, which understandable. It happens sometimes. You're young, gullible. So he goes with him to the concert, and the dumbass dude that's with them had fake tickets that he made. He faked them and got them all in trouble. And so now there's like a $200 fine that needs to be paid in order for them to get, alleviated of all this trouble, right? And if I was Drake or any of these other friends, I'd be so pissed at this dude. I'd be like, bro, what the like? Why did you do that? $200 fine. That's kind of insane. That's like for each person too. Like, someone went to jail. I know someone didn't have that $200. Someone was not fortunate enough. So yeah, that sucked. But um, yeah. So he calls Josh, and then Josh over the phone, like he's telling him, "Hey, don't tell her. Like, no matter what, you can't tell her. You got to promise, right?" But Josh shows up, and of course he shows up with her, because how the hell would he have gotten there? She drives him there, and she overheard over the phone apparently. So she pays his $200 fine, and helps him get out. And I was like, damn, that's kind of cool of her. $200, bro. Sheesh. There's not many family members out there that would do that for you.
Uh,
Yeah. So he kind of, at first he's very much like not for it. Like he's not grateful for her doing the $200 and all this stuff. He's being very antagonistic, and she's like, well, I let you win basketball, you know. And he's like, no, the hell you didn't, bro. You didn't let me win no damn basketball. And she's like, all right, bet. Let's run it. Let's run that rematch.
she
And
said,
then
"Run it back, you'll get cooked."
yeah. And she basically tells him, she's like, if I win, you have to tell your parents that you went to that concert, even though you weren't supposed to. But if you win, I won't tell them. And of course, that's the offer he can't refuse. So they go out and they play the first to five. This time, he loses 4-5. And I like how she's like, good game. And he's like, good game for you, maybe. Now I'm going to be grounded for a month. It's like, no shit, dumbass. What you mean? Like, that's your fault. You can't play the sympathy card now. But luckily, she's cool. She is cool, because she sees that he comes down. And he's like, he pays her back the $200, which was shocking. I was like, damn, 15-year-old with $200. I know that. I know he was saving. And she's like, where's a kid like this get this kind of money? He's like, I was saving for a new guitar. And I thought that would be, that'd be the good lesson, like he's fessing up to it. He's owning up to it. And he's going to tell the parents, right? Parents come back. He's about to tell them. But then, Grammy's like, she's like, oh, actually, I beat him in basketball. That's what he's embarrassed to tell you. And she kind of lets him off the hook. I was like, oh, that's really sweet. That's really nice of her to do that. What I didn't expect is that she pays him back the $200 or gives him back the $200. I don't know in what universe that happens. Like $200, that's a lot of money, man. Like
Exactly.
there's no reason for her to give him back that money. I don't think so. I can understand her giving him like $50 back, just so he's not broke. But bro, $200, and it's not even your fault. If I had a nephew or a grandson or granddaughter or whatever, and they were in this exact situation where I have to pay $200 out of my pocket to get them out of this shit situation.
The
I'm
situation
not
they put themselves in after I
exactly.
explicitly told them not to, and even was lenient enough to give them an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, nah, man, you're taking
I
that.
am not giving them back the $200. I'm taking that. Like, sure, I'll do the thing where you don't tell the parents, because that's cool. From your perspective, the lesson was taught, and that's what mattered. But giving them back the $200, that's insane. I would not. I would not go for that. I don't know if that just shows the privilege of this family. If $200 is nothing to her, like that shit is that's just light work. I don't know. But $200, that's too much money. I'm sorry. I gotta keep that one. I gotta pocket that one. So yeah, episode has a very sweet ending. He ends up making good with the granny or Grammy, and yeah, that's season 1 of Drake and Josh. I thought the season finale would end on something more finale nature. But then you kind of realize, especially now that I went and saw that the show aired literally in 2 months, January to February, most seasons last much longer. So it definitely felt like a trial period. Like they were like, okay, let's just see if people like this first before we make more. So they just kind of dropped these 6 episodes over the course of a month and a half, and to gauge interest, and there was interest. A lot of people liked it, and I would be inclined to say, even off these 6 episodes, I would still say that I do like it. I think I would rate this season as a whole as probably like a 6 at the highest, though, just because it's not much to go off of. There are some good episodes, but the main things that need to work, I feel work. I think the dynamic between Drake and Josh, I think that works, and therefore, the show is entertaining to watch. I do think that, but for as far as first seasons go, it's fine. It's an okay first season. It didn't really move the needle at all. I enjoyed it. How about you?
It was a solid 6 episodes. It was not bad, not great. It gave a nice direction for the series could go. And like you said, it was, especially since it only aired over the course of like a month. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was
Yeah,
not bad at all.
it's not bad. And the Grammy episode specifically, like, what made it speak to you? Why is it your favorite?
So I'm not gonna lie, it was just because of how sweet the little familial dynamic was. The fact that Josh was, for I'd say one of the few times, at least especially in this first season, he wasn't the butt of the jokes. He was almost like the mediator, and he was like the voice of reason for both Drake and his grandma. He's trying to get them both to coexist, and he's trying to, in a sense, get this new part of his family and his old part of his family to like just be his family, to drop both those monikers.
Yeah.
And even seeing Drake actually learn a lesson and suffer punishment without like some caveat to it, or without it
Mm-hmm.
being like a, well, he wins in the end, because even though he does like win, it's like it still is him going through something and it being like feeling, I don't know, it felt a little more genuine in this episode than some of the
Yeah.
other
It
ones.
felt like it actually had an impact. Yeah.
uh, Sorry. um and not only that, but the grandma was just, I don't know, a pretty fun character, seeing her just play basketball and then beat him, and then just uh how like just cool she was with a lot of stuff, but she was also like, I don't know, she kind of like mirrored Drake in a way. Like she was like a smartass too. Like she was constantly like quipping back with him.
Yeah, I would have
It's
guessed
a
that
lot
she would have
about,
been Drake's
yeah,
grandmother more so than Josh's, but yeah,
yeah.
like it was immediately. I was like, it feels like you two would get along more than you lead on.
And I feel that's why like the episode ended with them like starting to get along, because like, yeah, we need this. But at the same time, if it was Drake's grandma, they it wouldn't have worked as well, because they needed her to have a strong enough bond with Josh that
Yeah,
like her being at odds with Drake would make. Because if she was Drake's grandma, she was at odds with him. It's like they're at odds, and then Josh is like, "Well, you seem nice. I don't know you." And so they kind of had to, do it like that. But I don't know. I really like this episode. It stuck out a lot. It's very just. It was good. I'd say best in the season, but that's subjective.
it's definitely one of the best. I would say. I mean, I can't get mad at anyone putting it at the number one or number two spot. I think it's definitely top two for sure, for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's Drake and Josh season one. I definitely foresee us visiting season two at some point in the future. I don't know how far from now, but not anytime soon, right away. But at some point, we'll probably come back and do season two and see how that goes. I enjoyed it quite a lot, revisiting this one, but I definitely think it's one of the situations where I'm like, damn, I really wish, we got to see the later stuff. The later stuff is much more better representation of my memories of the show. So this was more, the stuff I just didn't remember that well, and for good reason, because a lot of this stuff isn't as good as what came later. But that's Drake and Josh season one. Hopefully, if you did a rewatch or recently watched it and have your memories fresh, I would love to hear your thoughts on it and what you thought of season one. And if you'd be interested in us, covering season two, three, four, however, all the way till the end, we would definitely be open to doing that. So yeah, this has been Hindsight. I'm Prince. That's my brother Bryce, and we're gonna catch y'all next week.
The girl